So here I want to cover off a completely different technique, again using that beautiful butterfly stamp, but this time instead of colouring it, we're going to use the pens as though they were an ink pad, and to get this wonderful watercolour effect around there, we're going to spritz it with water afterwards. Now remember, I told you one of the great things about these pens is they've got that drying agent in. So what we need to do is get a balance between colouring our stamp and using it as an ink pad, and you want the ink to be dry enough that when it catches the paper it dries and we get some resemblance of the butterfly like you can see we've got here, but we still have enough wet ink on there that a little bit will move with the water. And the more you practice this technique, the more you'll get the hang of it. Okay, so first thing to do is, because you've only got 10-15 seconds to get your butterfly once we've stamped it to get it ready. So I'm going to get my paper ready. I know that I want to stamp the butterfly roughly down in the bottom corner, so my butterfly is there ready to go. And I'm going to mix in a couple of the colours. I'm going to keep the silver out. I'm going to mix the purple, the gold and then the green. So what I'm going to start by doing, start at the outside of the stamp. You don't have to, you can start anywhere you feel comfortable. But I'm going to start with the outside and I'm going to colour around that purple. So you can see I'm just using the side of the pen so that I get kind of the maximum coverage. Then purple into the green, again using that big wide side, and then I'm just covering over where the purple hits the next bit of the green and covering that mass area, trying to go quite speedily. And then again in with the gold, I'm going to go right down the centre of the butterfly, picking up all those little bits. And then just because I've been on a little while, I'm just going to give it another little go over the edges where we've got that lovely big area of the purple so that we make sure it hasn't dried. Okay, and then we're ready to go, and we're literally going to stamp that butterfly just as I showed you with the rocker blocks down the side of our card. Okay, and what you can see is I've had that perfect transfer like that, but then we want to come in straight away with our water spritzer and spray it. And if we catch it early enough, can you see how it's starting to move? The more I spray, the more it will start to move there. And obviously the cardstock started to bow. So I'm just going to give that a few seconds to dry. But you'll see the longer I left that butterfly, the more the ink will dry and the less there will be to move about. So either give it a few seconds like I did and come in with a spritz, or if you come in straight away with the spritz, you'll get that movement straight away and you'll get a softer finished butterfly and more ink moving around. So we're just going to give that a couple of minutes to dry out there, or you can always speed the process along with a heat gun. So we can now do the matting and layering on that, and to really make it stand out, what I've done is I've taken some mats and layers from the gold mirror card and also the black, so that it really draws that eye in. And if you're cutting your own mats and layers, I would recommend leaving around about 1/8 of an inch. I think if you cut your cardstock about 1/4 of an inch smaller when you get to the next one, that would leave you 1/8 of an inch border, and that's just enough to really highlight and draw your eye into the centre there. So there's my base card, and then just to add a little sentiment, bear in mind you can do exactly the same with the sentiment stamps as what we've just done with the butterfly stamp. So I've got the spread your wings and fly there. And we don't have to do the spritzy watercolory technique. What you can do is just take your pens and use them as though they were an ink pad. So again, colouring from the side, and you're going to colour in that whole stamp. And then all you're going to do is take it onto a base piece of cardstock. So I'm just making sure I've got plenty of ink on there before I take it over. And you can do the same, it doesn't have to be a rocker block. If you like to work with a stamping platform, for example, it's going to work exactly the same. I'll just stamp it in the centre of the card here so you can see. So we go from heel to toe, and you can see you get that perfect transfer of the spread your wings and fly. But what I've actually done is, I've done one, got it all ready to show you here. So I've just matted and laid that again onto the black and then the mirror card. So that my base design will go on the front of the card. And then I do always like to just lift that sentiment up a little bit. Now you don't have to use the 3D glue gel, something like foam pads would work equally as well. I just always like this for a little bit of speed. So spread your wings and fly. And that's how we do that lovely kind of watercolory feel when you're doing your stamping with these markers.